I recall one morning walking into the living room and I find my daughter devouring the cookies, and there are wrappers all over the couch. I chuckle and say, it might be easier to just pour the bag of sugar straight down your throat. Mind you, there are crumbs still on her face. She looks up at me and muffles the response, "Don't judge me." It's a light-hearted response that she likes to use, to which you can only laugh. Well, it got me thinking one day. It's a reminder that we shouldn't judge people, but it also reminded me that we do need to hold people accountable. So why do we judge? Do we think if we judge someone else, maybe we won't look so bad? Well, I have bad news. Simply by judging, we do look bad. We are no better than the next person, and the only one to judge is God. Most of the time, we have no idea of what they're going through. What are their stories? I would venture to say that most of us are going through something, big or small, and we should just be gentle with each other. You might have received some really bad news at the doctor. You might be having a hard time with your spouse, and you might even think that it could lead to divorce. Someone could have just encountered a death in the family. Life is always happening, and it is happening for all of us. So what should we do instead? Well, what we are to do is to be present for each other. If someone is having an issue, be there for them. Ask them what's going on. You seem to be bothered by something. What's up? Most of the time, people just want us to listen. But if we take over the conversation in our fix-it mode, it doesn't give them time to unload. So just be patient and listen. And although that can be really challenging, because most of the time we want to just jump in and say something, right? But hold back. Chances are by the time they finish, they are already close to having the answer themselves because they've sounded it out. If they ask your advice, it might be wise to simply return the question. Well, what do you think? Again, they have another opportunity to come to the solution themselves. Typically, this is a healthier approach because generally, the answer lies within ourselves. Now, we can't just go around eating cookies all day, right? So we need to encourage being accountable for our behavior. There is a difference between judging and holding each other accountable. It is written in the Bible that we are to be our brother's keeper. In other words, we should have that one-on-one conversation with them if we see that they are straying. However, we shouldn't be judgmental of them and their behavior. Turn those judgmental thoughts into action and ask how you can be of help. I recently was challenged by this myself, and I was talking to one of my priests, and I said to him, there is such a fine line between judgment and holding someone accountable. I've been trying to help a friend, and it bothers me that I might be acting judgmental. Then he asked me, what was in your heart? Why are you holding this person accountable? And my response was because I care about them and I'm really trying to help them. I guess the motivation was love. And then we just both smiled. And he said, well, that's not judgment. Interesting, he too helped me by asking questions, and I was able to come up with a solution myself. In my last video, it was about loving God and loving your neighbor. If you haven't listened, please look for it on my YouTube channel and subscribe. It's called Love Love. It's the foundation of who we should be, loving God and loving our neighbor. You might notice that this is a common thread in many of my RUFit videos because it is truly when we are at our best, or shall I say, when we are the most fit. Which reminds me, I also want to remind you to take a look at the RUFit videos, number 1 through 5. They are the platform videos to becoming fit. The RUFit concept has really been a huge help for me in keeping my life in balance, and I want to share it with you. I truly think it can be a huge help for you as well. For instance, just this week, I was feeling really raunchy. I was trying to put my finger on it, and then I realized that I had been lacking in my exercise, which is one of the elements of RUFit. The next day, I felt so much better after working out. Keeping the elements of RUFit in mind is actually another way of keeping ourselves accountable. Well, getting back to my daughter, although I think she will always have that sugar tooth, she has actually altered her eating habits into healthier ones. In a recent visit, we sat down for dinner, and she actually loaded up on the salad plate. I just smiled. Sometimes we just have to come to things ourselves. You know, one of the most commonly used scriptures is John 3:16. But you do not always hear the following line, 3:17. And that actually addresses this notion of judgment. And if we ask the question, would Jesus judge? We already know the answer. And not only would he not be judging, he would be there for us, loving and healing us, right? So I guess that's our answer. John 3:16 and 17, quote, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only Son, so that everyone who believes in him might not perish, but have eternal life. For God did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world might be saved through him." End quote. So, let us be there for each other, help each other, and love each other, because that is what he did for us.